my therapy, it puts my anxious thoughts to sleep. Helps me focus my attention, avoid the fear of imperfection. I know it's never too late to sit down and pen another verse. It's how I seem to calm myself down, eternally conversing. There must be millions of us out there who struggle with their words. But when I'm stuck inside my headspace, I'm in a lonely universe. But music is my therapy.
Hello again, my friends, and you are my friends, and welcome to your Monday night pit stop. It is, of course, the Formula One Fan Show Live. I am your host, Martin. Host is a bit of a strong word. I'm just here. I'm the governor, Martin Lambert, the newbie on the block, the guy that's here bringing the questions that perhaps fans at home are sitting there wondering and not feeling confident enough to say, or maybe you are like me and you're just new to the sport and you're still picking it up, and I'll hopefully guide you through. We are still waiting for one of our contributors. But first of all, before we do go any further, you can, of course, listen to this podcast back in all its wonderful glory on good audio platforms. Just search F1 Fan Show Live and you will find myself, Stephen Thompson, and Neil Moles awaiting for you. Vettel flops again, says Bruce Air. Yeah, we will get onto that. I can see Mr. Thompson in the VIP area. Yeah, he's not happy. He's not happy. He really isn't. Right, you know what? Let's bring him in. Let's bring him in. Mr. Thompson, Bruce Air.
Nice. I love that riff, that intro riff. Ooh, lovely.
It's a beautiful song.
It's
beautiful
gorgeous.
song. Mike Baker didn't know we did F1. Where have you been? Absolutely. Where have you been? We've been doing it for a while and we'll continue to do it, my man. I hope you're well, Mike. Luke says, how is Masterclass an F1 driver? Well, that's a good question. But first of all, let's address Mr. Bruce Air. Good to see Vettel flopping again. Hashtag shock.
Someone's not a Vettel fan. I never was a Vettel fan. Back in his Red Bull days, couldn't stand the guy. But since he's been at Ferrari and now Aston, I've really grown to like him. And I don't know. I think this might be his last year. Next year, I don't know how long his deal is. But I'm glad I took him out of my F1 fantasy, that's for sure. Because this year, I thought we might see like a rebirth of Vettel, but he's been appalling, hasn't he? Struggling to get in the top 10.
He hasn't been good. Like, I was promised this great driver, and what I've seen is hardly sort of, you know, it's not like the time Paul Scholes came back to play football. Where you were told, Scholes coming back, he's great, and he was great. Yeah,
with Vettel, he is a great driver. Don't get me wrong, but I think we're now seeing just how much he depended on that Red Bull. He won 4 championships on the bounce at Red Bull. But no, I know, obviously, just I like him, but he is a good driver. You know, you can't deny what he did at Red Bull was brilliant. He was a good driver. But it now shows how much he depended on having that Red Bull built around him. And he's struggled ever since Ferrari. And now he's struggling at Aston. I really hope he gets it together, but I can't see it.
Mike Baker, he just can't hook that Aston Martin up, which is an issue. Talking about Mazepin, as Luke Hume did, F1 driver, got some points on his license again. As a new fan, I've got a question on that super license. How many points can you get on the super license before the super license is revoked?
Someone might correct me on this, but I have a feeling it's 12. Or is it you get a certain amount on there? I'm not sure, but I think you get points on your license and they stay on there for 12 months. And if you get to the required, or the sort of the magic number of points, you get a race ban. And I think, to be honest, that might do him the world of good.
It might do him good. He'll probably spin out of that one as well.
Yeah.
I said at the weekend, I'm pretty sure Mazepin's favourite fairground attraction is probably the waltzers. He must love the waltzers.
Oh, for sure. Can't keep him off him.
It
was brilliant. I saw him lose the car in FP1, like his first time out on circuit. Oh, he's off. Brilliant. And then he got penalised, for blocking Norris. But what's the point in penalising the guy who's starting last with a grid penalty? What's he going to do? Start a couple of corners back?
He's going to start on next week's race now.
Yeah.
He's still be spinning.
He'll still get a lap by his own teammate.
Adam Blamplate. Spain needs to be taken off the calendar. It's not good enough on Vettel. He's only good with a clean number 2 behind him. As he bottles it. Bruce there. He's not good. Perez and even Stroll showing him up. 12 for a race ban, says Adam. 12 says Mike. That Mike. How has he got now? Because he got points last week on the license as well.
He's got to be getting squeaky bum time. There's only so many times he can be so ignorant of blue flags. I agree with Adam's comment. Spain needs to be taken off the calendar. It's good for testing because you've got a mix of straights, fast corners, slow corners. You can get an idea of the car. But in terms of racing, it is absolutely atrocious. The only excitement yesterday came from strategy. There was no on-track sort of decent fighting.
Luke Hume, Schumacher is only in F1 because of his name, but at least he's a decent driver. Mazepin is just so bad. He's coming a danger to the other drivers.
I definitely agree with the Mazepin thing. He is only in F1 purely because of his daddy's money. I don't agree with the Schumacher comment. He's in F1. I mean, his name does help. If you have the Schumacher name, that's going to carry some decent weight. But he is actually a talented, decent driver. He has some great races in Formula 2 and Formula 3 before that. And you can actually see him making progress. I said in my article that the last time in Portugal, he actually raced with Latifi in the Williams, and he actually finished ahead of Latifi.
He took him in the last corner, didn't he?
He was brilliant. And then on Saturday, he qualified ahead of Latifi again. So the Williams is the better of the two cars. Schumacher's getting more out of that Haas than Latifi is in a Williams, especially when you compare him to Russell. And Mazepin has just been started last at every race. He's finished last every time. He's spinning. He's blocking other drivers. He is a danger. He really is.
How strange is it for you seeing the Schumacher name down the bottom with the Latifi's and the Mazepins? Because for me, it's still, and I've not used to even seeing it Schumacher win, but seeing the name down the bottom of that grid list is still very. Ooh.
It's odd and it's painful because growing up, when I first started watching Formula One, it was sort of the late 90s, early noughties. So for me, watching Formula One, Schumacher was the guy. He was winning everything. He was qualifying on pole. He was always in the top 3 in the charts or in the standings. There was a race or a season he finished on the podium in every single race. I think it was 2002. This level of dominance he had was incredible. So seeing his name, but the Schumacher name right at the bottom or right at the back, obviously it's because that Haas is absolutely terrible. But it is so strange to see. It really is.
Mike Baker, team orders worked well at Mercedes, cracks me up just as well. LH is a class act. Go on.
Those team orders, but don't hold Lewis up. Okay, his typical Valtteri Bottas here just disappeared way back.
I've got actually. I'll jump to it right now. Obviously, he didn't want to move aside, and that was a great moment of the race. To be fair, where you'd heard the orders, Bottas has heard the orders. You're on a different strategy, as in we're not strategizing for you to win. And he just didn't want to move over. And then he'll do it now, and then he didn't. And then he'll do it now, and he didn't. And even when he did, it was that real begrudging. Go on, then.
I thought there was going to be a touch. I thought there was going to be a repeat of what happened between Rosberg and Hamilton in Spain those years ago, because he moves over very late to defend, and Hamilton obviously had the line. And I thought there's going to be contacts here. You could see that Bottas really didn't want to do that.
And that's only after the Spain Grand Prix. So as we head towards the latter part of the campaign, and Bottas obviously is on a 1-year rental deal and probably won't be sticking around, is he going to be more in it for himself and ignore orders like that? And almost like Wild West Bottas, if you like. Is that going to be something that we can really keep an eye on as we head towards the end of the season?
But the annoying thing is Bottas should have been like this since day one. I mean, maybe not the first season because he's the new boy in the team. He doesn't want to upset the apple cart. Hamilton is their clear number one. But I think the past year or so, there it is, good segment. I think the past year or so, he needed to start getting his elbows out. He's too nice of a driver. And you see him on Drive to Survive on Netflix or in interviews, and he says, I'm not playing nice. Solid, this is it. This is me. I'm fighting for the title. I know what I've got to do to win. This isn't what you've got to do to win, dude. No. Qualifying a distant third and then disappearing in the race before being asked to move over is not what you need to do to win a title. So I can't see him at Mercedes next year.
No.
As much as I like the guy, because he is a lovely guy, as a person, but as a racing driver, you need to be an arsehole.
Yeah.
And he's not.
And he almost was. He almost was.
Almost was, and then decided against it.
Inside against it. Benjamin down. Leclerc, Norris, Verstappen. Who is Hamilton's protege, successor? Who would you say, Steve?
If you're talking about who's going to be the most successful guy in Formula One, sort of taking over the World Championships from Lewis, I would say Verstappen.
Oh.
Yeah. If you're going to be talking about the guy who's going to replace Hamilton at Mercedes, I'm going to say Russell.
There it is. There it is. There it is.
Yeah.
That caught me. You delayed that one for a second.
Well, I don't know, because Russell might be replaced Bottas. If Hamilton stays for next year, because he's looking at getting his contract done by the summer this time, you could see Russell maybe alongside Hamilton in that Mercedes. And then if Hamilton does go, then obviously you get someone in there. But I think if you're looking at someone who's going to be the sort of the next top of the pile benchmark, I would say probably Verstappen, if Red Bull can sort out all of their issues with that car and sort out their strategies.
Yeah. Bruce there. Mazepin is an arsehole, but also a shit driver. Yeah,
there's a line. You can be an arsehole, but do well with it. And then there's being an arsehole and still being crap. And he's definitely that.
Yeah. Luke Hume. I think it depends whether LH is still driving next year. I think he may retire this year after taking the record. Steve,
I'll be lying if I said that wasn't part of my hopes for 2022. But I think he's in a very similar mindset to sort of Fernando Alonso and those sort of people. He wants to stick around and see the cars for next year. And he wants to sample these 2022 cars because they're supposed to be quicker and they're smaller and they're more nimble and they rely less on aerodynamic grip. They're going to rely more on mechanical grip, and it's going to be a whole different breed. So I think he's going to want to see how that's going to be. And it will be at Mercedes, definitely.
You would imagine so. A team that's looking stronger this year, Ferrari, Steve. Looking stronger. Not as strong as they were hoping, I think it's fair to say. But they've made some considerable strides from last year, haven't they?
Yeah, they're looking good. Last year they had issues with the FIA deeming their engine to be illegal. And despite Ferrari claiming its legality, they then found themselves fighting over the final sort of positions in the points. This has been a good start to the year for them, especially for Charles Leclerc. He is so far, we've only had 4 races. He's so far one of my drivers of the season, him and Norris, because Leclerc has been doing absolutely brilliantly in that car, which is still not a great car. It's just an evolution of last year's Ferrari. So Carlos Sainz is now getting up to speed with that Ferrari, but he's lagging behind a little bit. I just think, Leclerc is doing his usual and getting far more out of that car than he really should be. So, and I'm very glad I've got him as my turbo driver.
What about his teammate?
Sainz, he's doing okay. I think he's sort of doing what everyone expected. Whereas Leclerc is sort of exceeding expectations again. Sainz is sort of trundling around the fringes of the top 5, top 6, where we thought, because we all knew that Ferrari wasn't going to miraculously be competing for podiums and race wins again, because it isn't a new car.
Well, they were talking the good talk, but we all knew that they weren't going to all out of walk the good walk.
No, you've got Mercedes and Red Bull. They're going to occupy 3. They're going to get the podium. But it's going to be who's going to be fighting for sort of the top 4, top 5. Sainz is doing all right. He's a good driver. He's a talented guy. It's going to take you some time to get up to speed with a new car, but I think we can see him doing that now. So I think he qualified ahead of Leclerc this weekend or last weekend. I can't remember, but he's getting there.
Yeah. Oh, he really is. So talking about people that are getting there, it's time.
Wake up to the, wow. Wake up to the money, turn me right on. You look like you got dressed with no lights on. A Superman that spin like a cyclone. Fit check, spin like a cyclone. Wake up to the money, turn me right on.
Yeah, but we're crap. We're not going to dominate any team.
There he is. There he is.
So true.
He's not even in a room this week, ladies and gentlemen. He is coming to you from... Where are you coming from today, Mr. Moles?
The van outside the hotel.
The van out. Have you even made it inside the hotel yet?
No.
Loving the commitment to the cause.
Dedication. I like that.
Yeah, for those that don't know, who haven't checked Twitter, he was held up in traffic. So he's not even signed himself into the hotel yet, not even checked in, and he's coming to us live. We're just talking about Ferrari and their remarkable improvements this year. My words, remarkable. What do you make of Leclerc and Ferrari as a whole this year?
Yeah, very good. Ferrari was strong in Barcelona last year, up to the point that they did they have an engine failure?
They did. There was an issue, wasn't there?
Yeah, but other than that, they had good pace around the track. So I was expecting them to be, fairly similar this season, and they were.
Ross Braun says it's not going to take much for them to start operating on the same level as the top two. How much of that do you agree with then, Steve?
I see where he's coming from. They've done it before. They've got the budget, they've got the knowledge, they've got the know-how.
Was that
I think someone's just collecting Edward's set piece from a couple of weeks ago. No, they've got the knowledge and everything to actually get back up there, and they've got the budget, clearly, and the facilities, but Red Bull and Mercedes are streets ahead of anyone else right now. So it's going to take a hell of a lot to even think about fighting for a victory unless something drastic happens in a race.
Yeah, I can't see it happening.
No,
not for a while.
Maybe with the new car and everything coming in.
Yeah.
Can they? I suppose with Ferrari being such a prestigious side or team, rather, the risk of their driver disappearing somewhere, such as the threat that hangs over Russell, etc., that's not quite there, is it? Do they need number two to go with Charles? Because I see Bruce Air says here, would you say Sainz is enough of an arsehole to compete with Leclerc? Do they need number two the same way Hamilton needs a better number two, or do you think the pair work well together, Neil?
I think the pair work well. Sainz hasn't quite got used to the team yet, so when he does, I think he's very much a level par to he'll give Leclerc a run for his money anyway. I think Leclerc, to be fair to him, is a little step above and is showing that he can get a bit more out of the car.
Yeah, Mike Baker says here, good to see Danny Ricciardo starting to get himself together. Looks better in the car. Neil, I know you wanted to talk about that because you sent me the note saying, has Daniel finally got to grips with Barcelona proving to be a bogey track for Lando? Which one was it?
Well, Lando last season, I'm sure, was slower than Sainz was. So I think if Danny's quicker than Lando at every track that Sainz was quicker than Lando last season, then you know which tracks Lando isn't the strongest at. And I believe Barcelona is one of those. But Danny Rick done well, didn't he? He
really
quicker.
Good, yeah.
So
did really well.
There was only in practice, I think Lando was quicker than him.
Mm.
Is that a sign that he's starting to get to grips with the car, Steve, or is it more, as sort of Neil was alluding to, their track issues, really?
I think there's a bit of both, really, because it's going to take around now. He's going to start getting more comfortable in that car and its little characteristics and its little sort of little things it does. But you always get those circuits that certain drivers seem to go better on than others. Like Bottas always seems to go well in Russia, for example. That's one of his sort of stronger tracks. And you're always going to get those tracks that drivers absolutely love and can always get more out of. I think Hamilton's always been the same in Hungary.
Why is that? Why is that? What is that? Is that they've got more experience through the youth ranks on certain tracks, or is it? What do you put it down to, Steve? Why
I'd say driving style and just how the corners flow, and do they match how you drive as a driver? I know through just playing the game, there's tracks that you enjoy driving at, and ones where you just can't hook up the corners, and it's like, yeah, this one's rubbish. On to the next.
Harrison Smith. It's like Nugent versus Ipswich.
I've played the only sort of game I seem to collect through the years is Formula One. I've got every F1 game, but going back to '97 on the PS1, and there's always those tracks I seem to run well at. I think Canada's one of them, that sort of thing. But there's always tracks I seem to absolutely suck at. Hungary being another one, and annoyingly Silverstone. So obviously, in terms of a game, it's going to be completely different, but it's a similar sort of thing. Like Neil said, yeah, you're going to get those tracks that really suit a driver's style.
Sorry, yeah. Bruce, would love to get your thoughts on Alonso so far. Still can't. I thought you were going to finish there. I thought you were mid-flow. I thought you were going to just That's a bit like watching Bottas drive. I thought I was going to get a lot more out of you there.
There's more. Oh no, he's done.
And then you just died. You just no. Just when I thought on lap 59, you were going to say, no, I'm not going to go to that strategy. I'm going to do my strategy.
I pulled over. I had enough.
You pulled over. Still can't decide understand why a team has allowed him back into the sport. I get the history with him, but surely time to move on, Neil. Alonso.
Ocon of late has really started to show him up. I didn't expect it, but yeah, he really has.
But is it that Alonso's got nothing left to give, Steve, or is it car, a bit of ring rust? I don't know. What is it? What is it?
I think ring rust does come into it. He's been out of Formula One for a couple of years, which in F1 terms is a hell of a long time. And even though the cars are largely similar, there's still little changes all add up. Obviously, he wants to come back into the sport to experience the new cars that are coming in, which should have been this year. They're obviously now next year because of the pandemic. I'm not surprised Renault or Alpine let him back in because he is their most successful driver. Most of his success he had was with the Renault team. It's a good point there from Mike Baker.
It's a great point from Mike Baker.
The thing with Fernando, he's had so much experience. He's driven the V10s, he's driven the V8s, he's driven these V6 hybrids. He's had different tyres, he's had different aero. He's been in Formula One for 20 years. So if you want a guy who knows Formula One in and out, it's Fernando. But like I say, a couple of years out of the sport is a long time, and it takes a long time to get back into it.
Yeah.
Fernando's style involves throwing the car in early and having a lot of understeer, and then the tyres finally biting and taking the car around the corner. That, for me, wears out the tyres, and in a manufacturer in Pirelli where you need to nurse them all the time, that doesn't really work.
Yeah. On the Bridgestones, where you used to be able to absolutely throw those Bridgestones into the corners, brilliant. And even the early Pirellis. But, like I say, little things like the tyre construction has changed so much. They're so sensitive now. You can't just chuck them around corners and hope they're going to last, because they won't.
Sorry, excuse me. Dog's going for a little jog around the living room. I know Bruce there asked, Bet Russell would do well in that Alpine car. Would he do well in that Alpine car, Steve?
I reckon so. I think given the chance to be in a midfield car or a higher up midfield car than what he's in now.
He's in a midfield car. Well, he would be if he actually finished the race.
He's finished races. He just finishes them. Down.
But he finishes them in the wrong way. He goes backwards. Again, he had chance of points, Steve, and he didn't get it.
It was a bad strategy from Williams. They pitted the guys early, and it ate up their tyres. And you saw him fall down, and he said, "Look, my tyres are done." And that's another thing. The Pirellis, they're that sensitive. It's unlikely because he's in the academy for Mercedes. But then again, so was Ocon. Ocon was a Mercedes boy, and he's now driving for Alpine. So you never know.
He only went to Alpine because one is French, and two, there was no other position for Ocon to go, was there?
No, that's it.
So who's at fault for this strategy then? And why did they decide to pit so early, Steve?
Well, Williams.
Break it down for us as the Williams fan.
It looked genius because they had a safety car early on. They double stacked and they put both the guys on for a longer run. And then you had George fighting with Fernando around the top 10. And it looked like Williams had pulled something off really well here. And seeing as that track is so difficult to overtake on, if you get George sitting around 10th or 11th, you've got a good chance here. And then the tyres just fell off, and he was on the radio saying he gave it his all, but his tyres were done, and he just saw him just slip back to sort of 14th, 15th, and it was so painful to see him slipping down. I mean, it was good. You got to try something different, especially if you're in Williams' shoes. You've got nothing to lose. So I just think, decided we'll go for this strategy. Worst comes to the worst, we leave with no points. Best strategy or best outcome, we get a couple of points. You never know. And unfortunately, it was that option.
Never mind.
They'll score points. They'll score points.
Yeah, I think it's only a matter of time. It's only a matter of time. Who have you enjoyed watching this season, guys? Ask Bruce.
If I had to pick, I would say it's either going to be someone like Verstappen or Leclerc, or Norris, actually.
Norris has been really good. He's been really good for my money. Steve, Neil?
Norris originally. Leclerc has been good. I've enjoyed Verstappen actually being in the fight.
Yeah, but that in that same respect, has also brought the best out of Hamilton. So you've seen the best out of them too. Like this week, for example, Hamilton had the race of his. I mean, it's the best start of his career. I heard, and then it was a really good race. Had to put together more or less, best lap you ever can till the finish.
I just like how he complained about his tyres were going to be shot by the end of the race. A man who had even older tyres, and he was worried that his were going to be worse than Verstappen's. Like, as if.
But he got it done, though, didn't he?
He got it done.
He got it done. And that's really what you can say about Hamilton. He gets it done.
I actually really enjoyed that. Mercedes don't normally go for a bold strategy like that.
They're always quite conservative.
It's good to see.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. How did that come about then? Because you say they don't normally go for a strategy like that, and I'm a new fan, but even to me, it seemed like this was not their comfort zone.
Well, it's almost like how Ferrari used to do back in the day, where they would let Schumacher romp off ahead, get some serious lap times in, and then they would end up doing 2-3 stops, and everyone else would be 1-2 stops, and Mercedes always choose to, the less times they have the car in the pit, the less times they can have a mistake. They just plod along on the tyres and have track position, and they just chose not to this time.
Talking of mistakes, talk me through what happened with Verstappen and that wheel, Steve.
It's those small things, isn't it? You wouldn't have thought 2 seconds could really cost you time, but I mean, obviously Hamilton got him in the end anyway, but it was awful because Red Bull are one of the best pit crews. I think they're probably the two best pit crews are Red Bull and Williams, because they're always banging in stops that are around that sort of 2 second mark. They're really they're so well oiled. They put so much time into practicing. But when something like that happens, I mean, it wasn't as bad as Alfa Romeo's, but when that happens, it's going to cost. And he came out in the lead after Hamilton pitted. That undercut still worked, but yeah, unfortunately, that Mercedes on those tyres with that driver were just unstoppable.
Didn't go well, did it? Love watching Mr. Saturday on the qualifying, says Mike Baker. Suki Tsunoda, what went wrong there, Stephen Thompson?
I just want to say quickly with Mike's comment, Mr. Saturday, obviously being a Russell fan, I get that joy of watching him put that car where it shouldn't be in qualifying. Latifi's qualifying 18th, 19th behind a Haas, and Russell's up there fighting with Alpine, AlphaTauri. And then on race day, there we go, Williams. But yeah, Yuki, we were saying off air just before that he started so well, that great race he had in Bahrain, and he's been slipping down, hasn't he? He's sort of his finishes were getting lower, and he had a retirement on Sunday after an issue on Saturday. And I feel so bad for the kid, especially because Gasly's doing quite well on that car. Yeah.
Well, we got what could have been for Gasly coming up very soon. But first of all, Tsunoda, please, Stephen.
What a shame. He's such a great little guy. He's got such a good personality, and he seems really fun, and that's such a nice guy. You want him to do well. And like
I missed what happened. So what happened?
They were coming around turn 10, which they've really good, actually reprofiled it. It's much quicker than it used to be. And his car just completely died. What happened to Perez in is it Bahrain? His car just cut out on the formation lap. Just happened to Tsunoda. Just completely shut down.
What was that? A wiring issue? Was that what do they say that is?
Was it qualifying or no? I think it was practice. He went over the rumble strips really hard, and the car cut out on him. So he's been having issues the whole weekend.
It's quite a sensitive car, it seems, to AlphaTauri. And he just came around the corner and they just completely cut out. But the best thing was he started to get out of the car and just started rolling backwards.
Rolling back
in it and get it out of the way.
Is he a bit of a Kimi in that way, though? Because if a car was ever going to fail, it would always be Kimi's. And everyone always questioned that he was just a hard driver on the car.
He's a very hard driver. You can see that. He'll chuck it round corner like Kimi in sort of prime Kimi era. He would chuck that car around corners. If it cuts out, it cuts out. That race years ago when he was winning the race with a flat-spotted tyre and the vibrations were so bad, everyone's saying Kimi needs to pit. Otherwise, that's going to break his suspension. And with the last lap, it did rip off his suspension. but that was Kimi, and that seems like that's Tsunoda. He thinks, "Now, sod it, I'm going to stay out. I don't care." I love that.
Do now, Gasly, Neil, talk to me about that, please. What could have been?
He pulled up for his start of the race, and he went too far. He went beyond the line in the box, and got a 5-second penalty, and it just all went downhill from there. Really, you think from such a good starting position, and what could have been.
What could have been, but inevitably, most normally isn't, I'm afraid. At the start of the show, Neil, you weren't here. We were talking about Vettel, and I think Bruce Eyre and a few other people were saying, flopping again. You've come to me this week and you said Vettel finally showing some pace in his Aston.
Yeah. In practice, he was quicker than Stroll.
So, but that's practice. George Russell in practice is the second coming.
Not quite. You can see.
I know, but it hurts him.
I know.
It daggers him.
I know when it's not really, anything important as such, but when you've got only you and your teammate to compare to,
yeah,
and you're both sent out on the same tyres. You're doing your short runs, doing your long runs, and Vettel finally is up that leaderboard and he's actually putting in some good lap times. It was respectable, and we just haven't seen any of that.
Go in the right direction, because I think it was it 12th and 13th last week, and this week was 11th and 12th. Was that it, or something around those lines? I want to quickly get my notes. It was 11th and 13th compared to 13th and 14th of Portugal. So yes, that's improvement. Go in the right direction there, aren't you?
The only problem is last season they were fighting up the front. They were basically doing what Ferrari were doing this weekend.
Mercedes.
Yeah.
I think the tricky thing is this season, tenths of a second is the difference between being 6th and 7th or 14th and 15th, because you've got that fight with you've got McLaren, Ferrari, Alpine are there, Aston are there, AlphaTauri. There's such a close fight, mainly between the likes of AlphaTauri, Alfa Romeo, Alpine, and Aston. They're all so close. Those little tenths of a second make all the difference. But more so a lot of time in recent years.
Absolutely. Right. Where are we next, Stephen?
Monaco. One that always divides opinion.
Oh, we're not, are we?
We are in Monaco. I love it. Mainly for the history, mainly for the setting, because it's gorgeous, especially on a sunny day.
Beautiful setting. Been there. Not walked around the track, but I've driven around the track.
Amazing.
20th of May. So not this weekend.
Weekend after.
The weekend after. Okay, so we've got a 3-week Monday next week to discuss something. But at this point, sat almost 12 plus days away. Neil, Monaco, filling you with excitement.
It's a great setting. I like how the drivers throw the cars around. It's great to watch. I like the qualifying and punching in some cracking times and pushing a bit too hard and clipping the barriers, breaking the steering and all that sort of thing. The race never quite lives up to it for me. It's just too much of can't overtake, and you've got the odd driver really trying their luck, and it just doesn't work. They just get frustrated. They end up basically binning their car, and it's pointless.
Yes.
So,
it's one of the rare races where qualifying is more exciting than the race. It's not often you say the qualities are more exciting than the race. Monaco is one of those, because if you qualify 15th, chances are you're going to finish 15th.
Yeah.
But this could really help Red Bull, because they go well around Monaco.
I hate driving it on Formula One game, and I've not enjoyed watching one yet.
I've been doing a co-op career on F1 2020 with my friend, and as soon as Monaco came up, it was shit. And we were just bouncing off walls left, right, him more than me, bouncing off walls left, right, and centre. So it's such an arse of a track, it really is.
Mike Baker, you guys read anything into the room that Hamilton wants to end his driving career in IndyCar and start his own team? Yeah. I
hadn't heard that.
When you're that rich, I guess you can kind of do what you...
I would say he would go into motorbikes first.
That seems more his thing, doesn't it?
Yeah.
He's a big fan of the motorbikes, so that'll be interesting. I can't see him ending his career, certainly at the end of this year, maybe the end of next year, depending how it goes. He's not a young guy anymore.
No,
but
he's not. I think he'll stick around for a few more years just yet.
Yeah, annoyingly, so do I.
Quick F1 fantasy update. It's got to be quick because I have got another show in 15, 20 minutes. So, Paul J is currently our leader on 794. Out of the three of us, I am obviously behind both of you. I am currently sat in 28th on 444 points. That's just above Sid and the Media Mogul, but below Heidi, Michael B, Daniel Barnard, Sean Talmans. Simon, Cobbled Massive. Neil, you're in 19th on 563. And the winner out of us three so far is Stephen Thompson, currently sat in
lucky 13th.
13th, above Rob Davies.
I haven't used that boost yet.
No, me neither. Sonoda really hurt me this week.
Yeah, man.
But, you know.
Well, having Leclerc as a turbo driver is really proving a bit of a master stroke for me. I used him as my mega driver actually on the first race. That's given me a hell of a boost. But my friend, he's I think this is his second or third weekend doing the racing. He's currently the heights of 31st place. So James, well done, my friend.
Yeah,
270. You've got a bit of a catch up to do if you want to get 30th. But
good work. But Paul J is currently our winner. My best week. Hang on, let's look at the best week. Stephen Thompson, your best week has been this. No, your best week was Spain. Spain.
Yep,
183 points. Your worst week was Imola on 113 points.
Really hurt me on that one.
He did. Neil Moles, your best week. Let me just get you. Where are you? Well, don't say you were. You were third, 14th. 19th. Thank you very much. So I'm glad you're listening to me. Your best week was Portugal. No, Bahrain on 151 points. Your worst week was Imola, 127. So improvement. My best week was Bahrain, and my worst week was Imola. Imola was a shite week for all of us.
Yep.
I think just Imola in general.
Get that in the bin. Now, with it being Monaco, we'll get into the fantasy next week. So get thinking on that one, chaps. But Neil, I thank you very much for jumping in at the earliest opportunity. You may now go and check in, my man. Steve, lead us out.
Yes, thank you very much for watching. Love all the comments. It's great seeing you all getting involved and giving us your opinions. We feedback from them really well, and it's we seem to be getting bigger and better every week, and it's so good to see. Obviously, you can join us every weekend or every Monday weekend at 7:15. It's even better after a race, isn't it? Because we've got so much more to digest. But we'll always find something to talk about. So you can join us again at 7:15 on Monday.
Yeah, and I didn't want to embarrass you, so I'm saving it till now. But Steve, happy birthday, my friend.
Thank you very much.
21.
Old timer.
Helps me focus my attention. Avoid the